Yeah, that was brutal. And then I decided to go on a TV show. I still don't even know what to say to this day. And fast forward 2 weeks, she died.
Let's go from the beginning.
Let's do it. So I was born here in the beautiful city of Plymouth back in 1984. Had an amazing childhood, very happy, fond memories of being right here by the sea. I would say I come from very humble beginnings. We lived in a council house. My dad was a taxi driver. My mum had a sandwich business. As I said, happy kid, lots of fond memories playing football in the street with my friends. Very different to today's day and age. You know, we were out as long as we were back before dark. Our parents were happy. So fantastic memories, and it's good to come back from where I came from and remember also where I came from. So school, I loved. I remember clearly my primary school, and I've still got several friends from back in those days. But my world was turned upside down, I guess, when I was 12, just as I was going into secondary school. My mum actually left the family home, so it was my dad and myself. We had to start again. It was sad, it was crazy times, but I come from a very disciplined background, so it was kind of buckle up, get on with it, and let's get to secondary school. So the first few years of school was very blurry. I don't have the best memory of those times. You know, I went to Paris on a school trip and I came back and my mum was gone. So I started secondary school kind of emotional, not knowing what was going on. Obviously going through young teenage years as a boy is difficult enough, but without my mum and then just myself and my dad and then starting a new school with new friends in a completely different area, it was tricky. But my dad was great, strict, disciplined, and he met a lovely lady, Florence, who after a couple of years, we actually moved in to her property and I moved to school again, which was very challenging. But Florence, I would say she's probably one of the most influential people in my life. I was with Florence and my dad from when I was 13, 14, up until about 17 or 18, and those are very crucial years for me. And she helped me with my speech, how to talk to people, manners, using cutlery in the right way, as strange as it sounds. And she was such a great woman, an inspirational woman, and she helped me massively get over all of the trauma, I guess, I went through just a few years prior. So I really buckled down. I loved geography, I loved business, drama, funnily enough, was a huge subject of mine. And it could have gone either way, but I studied, I went to university, I studied business at Plymouth University, and that's really where my life began. And I was very excited for the next step. And just as I was in my first year of university, my mum reappeared. It was tricky because I had gone 5 or 6 years without my mum in my life and almost thinking, you know, maybe she passed away, maybe she was with another guy, and you know, it was just, there was a lot for me to take in. And now I'm becoming a man and I'm, you know, 18, 19 years old, and I find out that she's still around. So I call her and she said, Dame. That's what she used to call me. And I said, Mum, it's me. I work at this pub. This was one of my first jobs. I worked in a farm shop as a butcher, I think when I was 16, 17, whilst I was at school. And then 18, 19, I worked in the local pub. So I called my mum and she said, Dame, I'll be there today. So obviously I was very nervous. I'd gone through a lot over the last 18, 19 years, but I was a man now. And I remember her coming in and just looking at me, and I just, all the emotion, everything went, any negative feelings, I jumped over the bar and I gave her a huge hug, and it was just, it was really nice. There was no animosity, there was no bad feeling. It was, I've got my mum back, so it was a nice feeling. But obviously at this point, my dad being very upset with me, with creating this new bond and relationship with my mum, I almost gained a parent then and lost another one. So it was just another battle, another psychological thing that I had to go through, which kind of broke me again, because I'd grown up with my dad by my side. We'd been through a lot together, and now it was almost I had to choose which one. But I was off to university. I had to become a man. I had to make some decisions for myself, and I had to start my life and forget all of the problems. I left university. I didn't really enjoy it. Again, I didn't really let on what was going on in my head. You know, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of drama, but I had to sort this out because I've basically come from a broken home, and I didn't want anybody to know I'm a very strong character, and I think that's mostly to do with my dad. So I left university and I found a position with a luxury construction company who were building these beautiful structures, selling them at Chelsea Flower Show, the Henley Regatta, all of these really high-end events dealing with high net worth clients. So I started to learn about business. Obviously I learned it at university, but now I kind of immersed myself in the world of construction, luxury products, high ticket items, sort of £20,000, £50,000. And I quickly realized I was pretty good at speaking to people. I was confident. I could back myself up with good sales figures, and I was very knowledgeable about the products I was selling. I was always the number one sales guy within that company, and I was with them for 5 years. I had a great time. I traveled a lot of the UK. I went to the south of France. I went to Italy, Switzerland. So I was very independent, very self-sufficient, and had a good group of people around me. I made some great friends. My boss at the time became a very close friend of mine, not a father figure, but almost an elder brother to me, who I talked very, very openly with about a lot of the issues that I'd gone through. He'd been through similar, and I think at that stage, it was kind of everything that I'd been through, but then quickly realizing everybody else in the world has got problems, everybody's been through things, and the people I studied, the people I spoke to, a lot of these people come from broken homes, no university education, and they kind of, it was almost a good thing for them because they had a point to prove. They were very driven, they were successful. Not many of these people came from money, so they wanted to earn their money. There was no loans for me, no credit cards. It was, if you want to earn, you work, and you work damn hard. And I felt like I had to be the best salesman within that company, and I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was I wanted to be successful or I wanted my boss to be proud of me, because I remember calling him when I sold certain things, and I said, I've sold one, and I was never driven by money, as strange as that sounds. I was driven by that phone call, and I loved making that phone call to my boss and saying, I just sold one, and him being happy. And psychologically, I think I just wanted somebody to be, happy and proud. And obviously I know where that stems from now, but yeah, that's always driven me to be the best. So I was the number one guy there for 4 or 5 years, and with my best friend, who was one of the carpenters for that company, we sat down together and we said, we could quite easily do this ourselves, but out of respect to the company we were working for, let's not do it in the UK. So we said, let's go to the US. A year before we decided to go, we saved up all of the cash, and then I decided to go on a TV show.
Let the cockle see the muscle.
It was a difficult time. It was the transition between leaving the UK to go to the US, and I knew it was coming. So I almost had nothing to lose by going onto this TV show. Clearly, for anybody who's seen it, it was outrageous, it was fun, it was non-offensive, but I think it was very easy to be offended from the show. So I was young, carefree, cocky, nothing to lose. I'd beaten all the demons that had gone over the years. I was a grown man. I'm just about to take on the world in America. And then, bang. It was death threats. It was poisoned dog biscuits through my mum's letterbox to her dogs. It was the front of the Sun, the front of the Mirror, news of the world, love rap this, did this, hate mail and a lot of negative comments. And did I bring it on myself? Maybe. I didn't really think that reaction was gonna happen, but I've been through enough in my life that I could kind of take it. And the amazing thing that came out of that is the lady I met from the show, Daniela, loved the episode. She thought it was clearly hilarious and she understood my sense of humor. And then week by week, a lot of people were saying that the girls were this way and they deserve what you said. But I didn't think of it that way. It was just another experience that I went through. And I met Daniela, and that was 10 years ago. And now we've got 3 beautiful daughters under 8 who are, the absolute world to me, and they've made me very soft, very loving, very caring, because I've had to be very hard over the years and super disciplined and trying to be the best and very competitive, and I have to win. And I did this on this TV show, but meeting my wife and having my girls has been the best thing I could ever do. But what it also did is it broke me a little bit, because I know my relationship with my girls, and I looked back and thought, how could my mum leave me at 12 when these kids are so precious to me and they've done nothing wrong? I did nothing wrong as a kid. So it kind of brought up a lot of feelings, and they're so precious to me. I just don't understand how any parent could do that. But then as you get older, you think, what was the relationship like? You just never know what's going on in a household. And I was so young, I didn't have a clue. And I still truly don't know the answer of exactly what happened. So the TV show was fun, it was chaotic, it was dramatic, but the best thing to happen came out of that, and that was my wife and kids. So myself and my wife, we went to the US with my business partner and best friend, Simon, and we had an amazing business. We started with £40,000 in the bank, and then in year 7, year 8, we were turning over $2, $3, sometimes $4 million a year. We're the most amazing clients possible. We would drive 15 to 20 hours a day. We were building products in a workshop with no bathroom, no air conditioning. So we worked damn hard, harder than I've ever worked before in my life. Traveled all across the US and had an amazing time. And luckily, somebody saw us at one of the trade shows and they said, you guys would be perfect for TV. She said, you need to call Marcus Lemonis. And I said, oh, I know the show, The Profit on CNBC. So in the UK, it's kind of very similar to Shark Tank, Dragon's Den kind of show. So it's a business guy, he's a billionaire, he comes in, he either fixes broken businesses or he helps take you to the next level. So we were building these beautiful structures for $5,000, $10,000, and he pushed us, got the right machinery, the right processes, the right team, people working to their strengths, and we took it to building the most luxurious structures and buildings and homes you've ever seen. And we smashed it. We worked absolutely harder than you could ever imagine, but our kids were so proud, our wives were so proud, we were on national TV, and then COVID hit, and a luxury outdoor structure wasn't really a priority. And then, unfortunately, just when you think you've been through enough junk in your life, we set up these gazebos, these structures at a trade show, the Gilroy Garlic Festival a few years ago. It was one of our last shows before COVID really stopped everything. And we were standing, we were talking to several potential clients. I think we sold 4 $40,000 structures. And on the final day of the show, my wife and kids were actually going to come to the event. I said, it's a bit too far. I know it's a garlic event. I know you like garlic. They had garlic fries, garlic chocolate, everything you could imagine. It was a beautiful show, really picturesque. But I said to my wife and kids, just don't bother. It's too far. I'm going to be leaving in a few hours anyway. And then fast forward 2.5 hours, one of the biggest terror attacks, mass shootings happened within 6 feet of where I was stood.
We have a lot of headlines to get to as well, including that breaking news overnight. Deadly shooting at a food festival in Northern California. 3 people killed at least, 15 injured.
For the next 6 months, it was it was, I'd experienced pain before, but this was different. This was, you go to sleep and you picture these kids, you hear a bang or a nail gun when we're doing a construction, and you automatically duck on the floor. So it was very traumatic, and it took me about 6 months to get to a stage where it wasn't affecting me on a day-to-day basis. I've still got obviously very bad memories of it, but that was pretty traumatic. So my wife said to me, I don't necessarily want to raise our kids here. I don't feel safe. Guns are very easy to access over here in the US. I had a great business, and I just said, look, I get it. So we booked the flights. 6 weeks later, we landed back in the UK. So I returned to the UK with no clear plan. I knew I was a hustler. I was a grinder. I could take something and turn it into several millions of dollars. I was good at sales. I'd been through enough crap in my life that I can make things happen. But it was COVID. I've just gone from beautiful house in California to a house in West Oxfordshire in Wantage, and it was go time. What do I do? What do I even research? So I sat online and I had a look at the job opportunities out there. Nothing really stood out to me. And then I saw luxury estate agent looking for entrepreneurs, business-minded people, risk takers, no estate agency experience necessary. And I thought, okay, and I know real estate in the US because I was surrounded by it. One of my very good friends was a top real estate agent in California, so we would often talk about it. Nothing that really I thought I would go into. It wasn't really an industry that necessarily interested me because I was on the construction side, on the sales side from the years previous, but I never really thought about real estate. And obviously the perception of real estate agents in the US is a great thing. They drive nice cars, they dress well, they earn hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And when I came back to the UK and doing a bit of research on it, the average salary I think is 14 to 16,000, a couple £100 if you sell a house. So it didn't really stand out to me. But when I saw this self-employed role that were looking for business-minded people at the top end of the market, I thought this is something I could do. I'm used to negotiating big numbers. I had very high net worth clients over in the US. I'm used to dealing left, right, and centers with carpenters and builders and finance and lenders and banks. So I hopped on the phone to Sean Newman. So I worked with Sean, who's got 30 years of experience, and very quickly we connected on an emotional level. We spent days and weeks talking because I didn't have any experience, any education, and I bombarded him with questions. What do you do? How do you do this? What should I research? What should I read? What podcast should I listen to? And I was asking and asking and asking because it's silly not to, one, ask questions, and two, replicate somebody who's clearly successful within the industry. And I quickly found that we opened up to each other, and his background was very similar to mine, and this is not something I want to keep going back to, and I think being vulnerable is very important because you can tell a lot about a person within a few minutes and what they've been through and the kind of character they have and how they've come out of that, because it's very easy to go one of two ways, and I don't want to dive too much into his story. The older I get, the more it's easier for me to open up to people, and the more people I speak to and study is very, very apparent. As I said, everybody's been through something, and it's not a competition just because he's been through something traumatic or I've been through something traumatic. It's life, and I think it makes me very much what I am today. So in that 12 months, my first 12 months in the UK, I became one of the top agents within the company. It was amazing. I'd moved from the US, I'm here in the UK, my girls are happy in school, my wife is near her mum, which was very important to her. Everything was kind of on track. And then again, my world turns upside down. I had a call from someone in my family who said, I don't want to tell you this, Damion, but she's gone. And I said, what do you mean she's gone? Who's gone? What are you talking? Because everything was fine. Everybody was happy. Everything was good. And yeah, she called me crying. She's gone, Damion, she's gone. And I said, who do you mean? What's happened? And she said, your mum. I said, where's she gone? She said, no, she's gone. So it was like, I still don't even know what to say to this day. It was probably, you think you've gone through some stuff and you think you've experienced some things, but that was brutal. So she had cancer, and she was within 8 weeks, and that was it. It was game over. And the horrible thing is, I didn't know. She didn't tell me. She didn't want anybody to know. She was very proud. I think my grandfather died from a similar, it was lung cancer from asbestos 20 or 30 years ago, and I was very small, so I don't really remember. But I kind of remember he lost his hair due to the chemotherapy. And I think my mum, being a very proud woman, she didn't want me or anybody else to see her go through that. So she put herself in a hospice and she didn't tell anybody. And then a week later, we got the call. And then following that, I had to go and tell her mum, who was my grandma, who obviously lost her husband 30 odd years ago. And I had to be the one to tell my grandma that her daughter has just died. Grieving myself, dealing with that myself, and then having to go and tell her again, it was, you've got to be strong, you're disciplined, you've got to be the man, you've got 3 daughters, you've got your wife, you've got all of this pressure, and you just got to go and figure it out. So I had to go and sit down, have the conversation with my grandma, who was in her 70s. She was so upset, she didn't want to go to the funeral, she didn't think she could handle it. And then fast forward 3 months, I had a phone call. Damion, can you come to the hospital down in Plymouth? Your grandma's had a fall. No problem, I drove straight down. And my wife had a great relationship with my grandma, always on the phone, very funny character, lovely lady. And then fast forward 2 weeks, she died. So I immersed myself in my girls and my wife, and we went on a little holiday to try and, we went to Cornwall just to take some days, just to relax by the beach, do some fishing, I tried. And then it was awful. It was awful. There's no way around it. It was at that point I knew I wanted more. I wanted to set up something for my family, for the future. I didn't just want to be a self-employed agent for somebody else, restricted to a very small part of the UK. I had many potential clients calling me from all over the UK saying, we love what you do, Damion, we've seen your productions, we love the videos, we've seen your successes, we think you're one of the top agents, can you sell our house? And I just had to say no. I'm restricted to this small area in Oxfordshire. And it was time in my mind to do something bigger and better. And again, that's no disrespect to the company I was with. I just wanted something that I could call my own, because it was very important to have something as my own, something that I could work and build like I've done before. Not say leave to my family, because that's decades away, but I wanted to build something that I could be proud of, my kids could be proud of, my wife could be proud of, and then I could sell these beautiful luxury homes all over the country and not restrict myself. Luxury Property Partners is a business that I set up with my business partner Tyler, his sister Summer, and partner Matt, and we want to change the industry. I've worked so hard over the last 18 months doing what I've been doing in the real estate industry and being at the top of my game within that company. I want to take things to the next level, and that's through the world-class marketing, the exposure, the negotiation, and I feel I wanted to explain a bit about my history and my past, and for some people, they'll switch off. I don't want this to be a sob story. It's not the point. I've got such a great relationship with my clients because they know me and they trust me, and they're obviously trusting me with the biggest asset they have. And I feel it's important for me to almost give a bit of background, my story, my history, because it may explain why I am the way I am. I'm almost a born fighter. I've had to deal with all of this in my past. I started a company in the US from nothing and built it to a multi-million-dollar company. I want to be the best. I've got such great relationships with my clients, and in a weird way, and it might sound odd, but because I no longer have a big family or extended family, I treat them like a family, like a family friend, or some of them become lifelong friends, clearly. Because I've got such close, intimate relationship with them on so many levels, and ultimately I'm looking after the biggest financial thing they have. They trust me with it, and I want to make them proud. I honestly want to make them proud. I'm not driven by money. I don't ever post on my social media about where I am or what I'm doing or what car I drive or what holiday I'm going. My wife will explain to you I am probably the tightest person she's ever met. And I think it's because I come from nothing. I look after money. And I saw how hard my dad had to work as a taxi driver. Coming home, I remember it's like a big cotton bag of pound coins and notes that he would be working all day to collect this. And then I see, how hard my mum had to work, and, coming back to Plymouth and being here and driving past the council house that I used to live in, my first job as a butcher, the school I went to, and now how far I've come. I don't see success as a financial thing. I see it as freedom, to be able to give my family nice things, to be able to go on a nice holiday, to be able to eat what we want to eat, but not splurge and be flash. It's an odd one to describe, but it's almost, I want to make the clients proud, and they all are, and I have great relationships with them. And when people say, you're competing against this high street agent, or they're charging this fee, and how are you going to compete with them? I don't want to compete with other people. I just want to do the best by my clients. And as I've explained, I think over the last 10, 20 minutes, I've been through enough that battling another agent, it doesn't concern me. And if somebody wants to choose another agent, that's fine, because they've clearly got a relationship with them, they trust them, and ultimately the clients that pick me, we've got a great bond and they trust me. And I may not be for everybody, but it was so important for me to show a bit about me and where I've come from, and it may explain why I've got such drive, determination, passion to be the best, to get the best results. And I've got some results that no other agents thought would be possible. My goal is to be the #1 luxury real estate brand in the UK within the next 5 years. I want to become the #1 agent in the UK in the next couple of years. Am I the best agent in the UK? I don't know. There's a lot for me to learn. I'm always studying, I'm always reading, I'm watching what the Americans do, I'm watching what the Australians do. And I go back to the TV show I was on in America on CNBC, and I asked the billionaire Marcus Lemonis, what's the secret? Like, what do you put down to your success? And he said, you have to constantly evolve, and you've got to be vulnerable. And I think that's what I've learned to do. Always keep an eye on the competition, see what everybody else is doing. Don't think you're the best. Don't think, I've seen it when we went to Monaco to do a show. There was this big, beautiful luxury yacht that came in. It must have been a 200-300 million pound yacht. 2 minutes later, this 600-700 million pound yacht pulls in. So there's always somebody out there who wants to be bigger and better than you. And I think as long as you're constantly evolving and don't become a sleepy high street agent, because it will just end up like Topshop or Debenhams. Things change. We're in a digital era. That's why the videos are so important for me. That's why social media is so important for me. And yeah, I'm very excited about the future. We've got some huge plans ahead, but for me, it was important to explain a little bit about me and where I've come from, and it might help people understand why I am like I am.